Hey there, I'm Michelle.
I'm Jim, and we are A Teague of Your Own.
Welcome to another Motivational Monday.
Let's get motivated.
Woo! Yeah. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yes, it is.
I think
Spring is coming.
I don't know if this is fake spring or we're getting too far along for fake spring or what.
I think we're maybe getting to that point where it's a little too far for fake spring. I mean, we could still have a wintry blast somewhere. We've had that happen before, but this is starting to feel like spring is coming.
They're saying 70.
Yeah, 70 for later this week.
It's just
that'll be nice.
Yeah, it is. And with spring comes my least favorite day of the year.
Yes, daylight savings time.
My least favorite day of the year.
Our daylight saving time.
Yes. And why do we do daylight savings time?
I haven't the foggiest idea.
All right. So once upon a time, way back when people first started talking about daylight savings, they were talking to a Native American.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to explain it. And when he heard that, he said, only the government would believe that you could cut a foot off the top of the blanket, sew it onto the bottom, and have a longer blanket.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Sounds about right.
Think about that. Okay. Because that's basically what they're telling us.
Yeah.
Is that we're doing.
Yeah. I had one of my colleagues many years ago, we talked about daylight savings, and he said the reason for daylight saving was to make sure that there wasn't too much sunlight to burn up the farmers' crops. It was like,
no,
but it's the same amount of sunlight. And he just laughed when he realized I figured that out real fast. It's like, it's the same amount of sunlight. It doesn't matter. No. All you're doing is calling it a different time. And quite frankly, it's silly. I don't know why we do it anymore. I don't know why we did it to start with.
No. And they've got medical studies out there that show you have an increase in heart attacks, you have an increase in car wrecks, because people who were used to driving to work in the daylight are now back to literally overnight. It's back to darkness.
Being in the dark.
Yeah. Children, very difficult time, especially teenagers, adapting to this because once again, they were going to school in the daylight and now it's dark.
Yeah.
Your body does not like it. Your body fights against this. In fact, the Monday after daylight savings goes into effect is take a nap day, I want to say. And it's because you need that hour that you lost. The government just stole an hour of your life away from you.
They give it back to you in the fall, but the problem is in the spring, you're right. A lot more heart attacks, car accidents, that type of thing. Fall, not so much.
No.
And that's because in fall, you're getting the hour back. You get an extra hour that change overnight. But the reality is the whole thing is silly. Yeah. It makes no sense. You ask people in Congress why we do it. They can't tell you. No. They don't know. No. Nobody knows.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because with Doge, whether you like Doge or not, doesn't matter. One of the things they're looking at is getting rid of daylight savings time.
Yes.
And because they realize it's a huge inefficiency.
Yes.
You literally, there's no reason why the government should be mandating this change.
Right.
And used to be, they say, oh, but the farmers but no.
The farmers hate it.
We've talked to several farmers.
Yes.
Where we used to live, highly agricultural area. Great friend of ours, Doug Chu, dairy farmer. And he'll tell you, the cows
don't know.
The cows don't know. And any of you that have animals, your animals don't know.
Yeah, animals don't know.
Your dogs, cats, they're just like, what's the deal?
What's going on?
Why are you changing when you're feeding me?
Right.
So keep that in mind. It really isn't beneficial to anyone.
Right. No, it's not. It's not beneficial to anybody.
And people used to make fun of me because for years, whenever I would talk to somebody who was a candidate for office, the one and only question I would have for them is, what are your thoughts on daylight savings time? And most of the candidates would not take that seriously because they were just like, what kind of question is that? But to me, this was the real issue for me.
I agree.
And there were people that I did not vote for because they were just like, oh yeah, daylight savings time, love it. And just like, nope, wrong answer. Let's try again. So there are people that this matters to. And the reality is there's no reason why we do this.
Right.
Same amount. I was finally getting to the point where I could drive in the morning with daylight. And since the days are getting longer, I was driving in the evening in daylight, and now you took my morning daylight away from me.
Yep.
Not happy.
Yeah. And my view on the whole thing is I personally don't care which time you pick, even though I think my preference would be standard time of the two.
Yeah.
But I don't care which one you pick. Just let's pick one and leave it there. And that's where we run into the issue. Yeah. It seems like it's about a 50-50 issue. About half people would want to have daylight saving all the time, and the other half would want standard time.
Yeah, no. And my reason being is because you literally you've stolen an hour of my life back, and I want it back.
Well, here's my logic on why it should be standard time. Well, think of what it's called. Standard time. Yes, that's been the standard for a long time.
Yeah. Since they started this.
Whereas daylight saving was this phantom thing that they started. I remember one of my colleagues, again, when I was in college, about his family. They were missionaries in Guatemala. And he talked about being in Guatemala, and they tried to do daylight saving there. And it was interesting because one, Guatemalans apparently are kind of casual about time anyway.
I think that tends to be the culture of several Central American countries. So it's not a huge surprise.
Right. But then when somebody would ask somebody else, what time is it? They would reply with something like, do you want the real time or do you want that stupid government time? And they didn't take to it in Guatemala. And so I don't know if they eventually abandoned the idea. I think they did because people just refused to go along with it. Maybe that's the thing we need to do in this country is we all need to say, forget it. We're not going to go along with this anymore. And we all just continue to operate on standard time.
Well, Arizona does.
Yeah.
Arizona does not do daylight savings time. I don't think Hawaii does.
I don't think Hawaii does either.
I think and
for Hawaii, it's not that important. By the way,
there used to be parts of Indiana that didn't.
Yes.
Because I had to do a training in part of it. That didn't. And so you've got bits and pieces out there that are just like, no, not thrilled about this.
Yeah.
And there's legislation in different states that has been put out there, and I think they're waiting to see what the federal government does. So I am hopeful, and I say this every year, I'm hopeful that this is the last time.
Yeah, I know. Donald Trump has talked about getting rid of it.
He has.
But
he talks about lots of things.
He does. He talks about a lot of stuff. Yeah. But he's mentioned it a few times, and I think from what I can gather, he's in favor of putting it to permanent standard time and just getting rid of daylight saving altogether, which again, that's my view. I think that's a good idea.
At this point, it would be easy to do because literally they could pass the legislation some point in time, this spring or summer, and then say, when we go back to standard time in the fall, that's it.
That's it. That'll be the last time. Yeah.
And
I think everybody'd be okay with that. Matter of fact, if they wanted to go back to standard time as soon as they pass it, I would be okay with it. Because that's the other thing is with daylight saving is you get so much more time in the evenings that if you're somebody who has to go to bed early, that could be troublesome.
Well, and the other thing is daylight savings time the start and end of it have shifted over the years. It has not always been the beginning of March, and it hasn't always been the end. Actually, I guess it's the beginning of November now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
When it ends. It used to be, I want to say, April and October, but they've shifted when you begin and end it. And so it isn't even like, it's just like, well, this is when it has to be. No, this is a complete construct by people in our government, and for no really good reason other than to see if they can make us move our clocks twice a year,
which they do.
And for some people who can't figure out how to change the time on their clocks, they don't.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, I used to, when I used to travel a lot for work, some of the rental cars that you would get, I mean, and like some of these rental cars, it would be like several weeks after the time change, and they were not changed. You go into hotel rooms, and the clocks that they would have there wouldn't be changed. It's because nobody could figure out how to do it. So it's just, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And there are lots of things out there that makes no sense.
Let's contact your legislators and let's push for it, and let's try to get rid of it. Yeah. For those of us who want to get rid of it, which I think we're in the majority, and let's see what we can do. We know that we've now got, a few prominent politicians that are behind the idea, and it's time to do it, because this thing is, again, I don't even know what the purpose of it was to begin with. To say it's past serving its purpose, since we don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It just.
Yeah. It's one of those pointless things that just needs to go.
The daylight is the daylight.
Yeah. The daylight is the daylight.
You're not going to save any of it. You're not going to get extra here and there. It's just, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yes.
And so just for those of you who are just like, but I like having all that daylight after I get off work. Figure out how to get a job where you get off work an hour earlier.
There you go.
Ask for flex time.
Yeah.
Go in an hour earlier.
Yeah.
In the dark.
Yeah.
And then
you can go home an hour early in the daylight. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. There's ways around it these days.
There are.
Yeah.
All right. So let us know how you feel. Let us know in the comments. Where do you stand on maybe you're just like, I really don't care. But I have a feeling some people are just like, I prefer having, daylight savings time, or I really don't care, or yes, stay with standard time. So let us know. Let us know how you feel. All right. Next week, we're coming up on the 5th anniversary.
How about that?
Of doing these. And so next week, we're going to talk about 5 years of doing these shows.
Okay.
So tune in then. All right, everyone. If you need to get a hold of us, how can they get a hold of us?
Phone number 412. Whoa. Give my home number, my personal number. 412-420-7975.
There you go.
You can call, you can text, send us an email, info@ateagueofyourown.com. Go to our website, ateagueofyourown.com. Go to our social media. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we have the YouTube channel with all of the Motivational Mondays on there.
Yes.
That's it.
So like and subscribe.
Yes.
All right. We will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.